What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. Before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and the player ratings and potentials of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously, you don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those of you out there who may be new to the game and just need a little bit of advice, or for those of you out there who want a few recommendations on what players you could sign for a team that you may be using in career mode this year. And in today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, who on earth is that? Yeah, we are taking over Borussia Mönchengladbach. Now this is quite an interesting one because by the time this video goes up, there might be a manager in charge at Borussia Park. But for now, as I record this commentary on Friday the 3rd of June, they haven't got a head coach right now. Now, it is rumoured that over the next few days, Daniel Farke, the former Norwich City boss, will take over Borussia Park. But for now, at the time of recording this commentary, it's still unknown. Now, Borussia Mönchengladbach are a 4-star team in the Bundesliga. They started with a budget of around £24 million. And they're a really good challenge. If you want to go straight into a team that are a decent challenge to begin with, Borussia Mönchengladbach are a fantastic fit. Now again, they're a 4-star team with around a £24 million budget, and you'll notice they play a 3-4-2-1, and it's an interesting system to say the very, very least. There are some decent youngsters in the team. Florian Neuhaus through the middle of the park, Luca Netz, the left-sided player, really solid future. The young German has got there at Borussia Park, but it's also a team that does have a few aging players that need to be shifted on as well. It's a really interesting team to use. Again, parting ways with their manager after a 10th place finish in the Bundesliga this year, and their objectives in Season 1, you would have seen them reach the last 16 of the DFB Pokal. Yup, definitely doable, but finish in the top 4, qualify for the Champions League. Now that is a tough one. It wasn't too long ago Mönchengladbach were playing Champions League football, but next year they won't be in Europe. Your job is to make amends in the game, if you will, and get them into the Champions League. Not even the Europa League or the Europa Conference League, no, get them straight back into the Champions League for next season. That's quite tough because you know Bayern are going to win the league every single season in the first year, so there's only 3 spots available. And in the Bundesliga, it's really competitive. You've got Leverkusen, you've got Dortmund, you've got the Europa League winners, Eintracht Frankfurt, a whole host of teams, RB Leipzig as well. It's a difficult task. It is doable, but it's a difficult task. Now, they have 4 players that deals are coming at the end of the year. I would only recommend giving out one contract though, and that is Matthias Ginter. Ginter is 83 rated and in the prime of his career right now at 27 years old. Don't let him go. Don't sell him. Don't let him go on a free transfer. No, I would recommend keeping him here as your best centre-half. And I'd also change a couple of positions as well. Ben Sabai, I'd change him from a natural wing-back to a centre-half. That's where he plays for Mönchengladbach in a back 3. And also Marcus Thuram as well. Now, this guy, I really like this guy. I've used him on career mode a couple of times before. He's a really versatile final third type of player. He's 6'4", really tall, fantastic physical player, quick, strong, and a great technical player as well. I would recommend either training him to a striker or a CF in this team. Not on the left-hand side because you want your wingers to be good on the defensive end as well, but striker or centre-forward, I think that's where you get the best out to Thuram. Now, I put 4 players on the transfer list. Those are Jansch and also Hermann the German. Can anyone remember what save he was in with me? Hermann the German. What a throwback that is. Put them both on the transfer list, both in their 30s. Reasonably low starting overalls. Could be good squad players, but personally, I'd look to sell. And 2 other players that are in their 30s who are also first-team players for Mönchengladbach. Now, you've got Lars Stindl, 32-year-old, 80-rated attacking midfielder. And this team would play in the centre-forward role. And also Christoph Kramer as well. Now, those are 2 really good players. Stindl and Kramer are both 80 overall, both in the first 11. But as they're in their 30s, they're due to decline right from the very first month you start the career mode off. I would sell. We sold Stindl to Sporting Lisbon, got around 17 million for that. And then I decide to reinvest the cash. Now, the targets for me with Mönchengladbach, it's an interesting one because, again, you don't start off with a big budget. And for a side with Champions League ambition, that does make your challenge even harder. And that's why I really like this team. You got to make sure you get decent value for money deals, and this is the guy I would definitely recommend as your first signing. Rydel Baku of VfL Wolfsburg, 23 years old, 80 rated, and it's always good to get versatile players in the team. This guy's really versatile, and a moment ago there I talked about Marcus Thuram and why I wouldn't play him on the left-hand side in this three-at-the-back system. The reason being is quite simple. When you are playing a three-at-the-back system, your wing-backs or your wide midfielders, they've got no cover. They've got no one behind them, and in some cases, no one ahead of them. They need to be good on both the offensive and the defensive end, and there's no one better in German football right now, more suited to do that sort of role than this guy right here. That's affordable, I should say. Rydal Baku, he picked him up for £34 million. He's 80 rated, but just 23 years old, and he's got 85 potential as well. So we'll go right into the first 11 on that right-hand side, and it's a really solid pickup because, again, you want to make sure that those players, whether you've got Nets, the youngster on the left, or Liner on the right, you want to make sure they're good, both defensively and can offer something going forward as well. Baku does both of those, and he's got an abundance of energy as well. And we also did tell Christoph Kramer in the end. I didn't realise this guy had some bask in him, but apparently he does. He's off to Athletic Bilbao for 11.5 mil. Never gets old, is it, when you see a Atletico Bilbao signing of someone non-Basque in Kramer. We sold into Marcelino's Bilbao for 11.5 mil. And this was an interesting one here. Now, I decided to replace him, if you will, with a striker, and you might be like, Docs, mate, I thought you gave up the weed. Well, here's the thing, right? I would recommend bringing this guy in because, first of all, it's a great budget deal, okay? It's £18.5 million valuation. Because his contracts are coming at the end of the year, you can get him for around 17 mil. I think we spent 17.4 mil, but this is an amazing, amazing young forward in the game. It's Randall Kolo Muani of FC Nantes, 22 years old, but already 77 rated with 84 potential. And what I would do in this Mönchengladbach team is drop him a little bit deeper to centre forward. He's a really good short passer of the ball, and sitting behind either Briel and Bolo or Player, he'd be a really solid centre forward in this team. It'll only take him 2 weeks to learn that new position. And I think personally, he'd be better phased a little bit deeper in one of those two centre forward spots. And what then I'd do as well is convert Jonas Hoffman back from CF to CM. It'll get rid of the exclamation mark on his name, and he's more than good enough to play in a bit of a deeper role in this team. We also did change the positions here of our two players we mentioned Gladbach already, including Marcus Thuram. He grew 2 ratings to 80 overall once he changed the striker. Again, you look at his stats here, he can play on the wing, definitely, but I think personally he's much better up top in this Mönchengladbach team. And with the little money we had remaining, I did decide to try and make 1 or 2 more signings. As we were talking about earlier, it's a good idea to make sure those wing backs or wide midfielders in this team are good both defensively and of course can offer something going forward as well. I tried to bring in a left-sided player with Baku on the right, and I'm a big fan of this guy in the game as well. It's Anthony Kachi. He is a 24-year-old, 75 rated left wing-back playing for Strasbourg right now, but like Kolo Muani in Ligue 1, he's got his contract upcoming at the end of the year, so you can get him for under the valuation of around £6 million. In the end, as you'll see, I pulled off a swap deal here. We sold one of our squad midfielders and gave Strasbourg 3 mil plus a sell-on clause as well. Maybe not the best deal I could have negotiated, but to be honest, I just really wanted him, and there was only a week to go before the season started. He's a really solid player though, and again, starts off 75 overall, so in this team, good enough to go right in the first 11, or if you want, off the bench. Out of 81 potential as well, he still grows 6 ratings too. I definitely think you'll see CB is his 3rd listed position as well. I definitely think at 6'1", with the defensive stats he's got as well. No, he's not the strongest, doesn't have the highest jumping reach on him, but I definitely think if he needed to fill in at centre half, he'd do a pretty decent job there. But personally, I'd start him as a left wing back in this team. And the final signing I pulled off was someone that I sign in the majority of my Who to Sign For episodes. I'm looking for a young goalkeeper, Martin van der Voort, the young Belgian goalkeeper who, as we know, is going to join RB Leipzig in 2024. But in the game, you can still get him, and you can get him for under the valuation as well. We gave our veteran goalkeeper to KRC Genk, and also I think it was £2.4 million around that. A decent fee regardless, not much to pay, and this guy's a really good player. Whilst he is lower rated than Sipel, the veteran goalkeeper we gave to KRC Genk, he is 19 years old, so he's got a long way to go. And of course, you will want a long-term successor for Jan Sommer, your starting goalkeeper and club captain. Well, this guy's got 84 potential. Our dynamic potential can definitely get higher than that as well. Definitely your long-term successor there for Jan Sommer. So in the end, with Mönchengladbach, as you can see, we sold 4 players, all in their 30s for £32.5 million. And the 4 players we signed, 56.9 mil. So in the end, a net loss of basically our starting transfer budget, 24.4 £4 million, but the players coming in, all younger than those players in their 30s, and if not better, then certainly have higher potential. Baku with 85, Kolo Muani and Van der Voort with 84, and Kachi's got 81 as well. Yep, really solid quad of players coming in here. And this is a really interesting Mönchengladbach side as well. Like I said, a few aging players here, few good young talents, few players in their prime. It's a great team for a career mode, man, and a great team for an RTG. So, as per usual, we'd simulate the end of the season, see if we can hit those objectives of finishing in the top 4 and reaching the last 16 in the cup. And as you can see, well, as we come to the season, I felt confident we got into the top 4. Had a great end of season run, if you will, but I did know the cup was going to be an interesting one to show you. In the league, as you can see, 3rd place in the end, 63 points on the board in 34 games, winning 18 over half our games and only losing 7 times all season long as well. Bayern are always going to win the championship in season 1. They will always win the title. So there's 3 spots available. And like I said, in the Bundesliga, it's a really competitive league. See that Wolfsburg and Dortmund joined us in the top 4 this year. But you look at that there. Leipzig, Leverkusen, Frankfurt and Hoffenheim as well, the other teams there. You know, Frankfurt in 8th are only 6 points behind us. That just goes to show you how competitive it is in the Bundesliga. And that's why the first season is a really good challenge with Mönchengladbach. You've got to reach the last 16 in the cup. That's more than doable. You just got to go through 1 round. We couldn't do that. We were knocked out by our lower league side. Yeah. Brilliant. Knocked out by our lower league side. Wasn't going to sweep that under the rug. Yep, really, really poor showing in the cup there. And that objective was a massive failure. But the Bundesliga, finishing in 3rd place, that's a Champions League spot. And that keeps the board happy. Again, it's a great challenge in the first season with Mönchengladbach because you've not got a lot of money to work with. You're only, and I say only, you are a 4-star team. There's better teams in the Bundesliga than you. You know Bayern are always going to win the titles. There's only 3 spots available. And again, you've got a few aging players, but they're not going to generate a lot of money for you in the grand scheme of things, a couple of which will barely get you anything. So yeah, it's a really tough challenge in season 1, but they are definitely worth a go. If you're looking for an RTG project in Germany, a rebuild, a good long road to glory to try and topple Bayern for domestic dominance in German football and eventually get back into the Champions League and try and get European success at Borussia Park as well, Mönchengladbach are a fantastic team. They've got an interesting setup. If you want, you can change formation. If not, play with it, see if it works for you. But again, really good team to use. Some decent young players. Florian Neuhaus, probably my favourite of the lot. But also a few aging players to be shipped on as well for the rebuild. I definitely recommend Borussia Mönchengladbach. Borussia Park is a fabulous real stadium in the game. They've got some really interesting, unique looking kits as well. Definitely worth a go. And right now, at the time of recording this commentary again, managerless. So it'll be a really nice fit as you could take over as the new head coach. Though of course, by the time this video goes up, Daniel Farke has probably already been announced. Even so, great team. Definitely worth a go. Really do recommend them. Had a lot of fun rebuilding this side. And again, I would really recommend them for an RTG rebuild, long-term project in the Bundesliga. But that will end today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then please drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.